21 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. I said we'll be picking up your calls on the other side of the break. We will at the bottom of the hour. My apologies. Bob Baugh is with us. He is the executive director of the AFL-CIO Industrial Union Council for our weekly labor segment here. AFL-CIO.org, of course, the website. Bob, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Tom. Glad to be here.
Great to have you with us. According to TexUnite.org, the top 10 companies that have outsourced the most jobs are IBM at 63,000, EDS at 22,000, and these are and change, Dell at 17,000, Cognizant at 15,000, Siemens, GE, Convergys, Accenture, Computer Sciences Corp, and Intel, all in the ranges of 15 to 10,000. And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes, it is. Now, we've lost 500,000 manufacturing jobs in this country in the last year, and those aren't just manufacturing jobs. It's also research and development and engineering and all the things that you need to be innovative in the future.
We had an industrial policy in the United States from 1791 until Reagan came into power and started dismantling it, and then it went into overdrive with NAFTA and GATT and the WTO and all that kind of thing. But we also had, from 1935 with the passage of the Wagner Act, with a brief hiccup in 47 of Taft-Hartley, but again, up until Reagan came into office, we had a strong union movement in the United States that fought to keep good jobs in the United States. It seems to me, Bob Baugh, that the way to bring these jobs back is a combination of strengthening labor in the United States and stopping the idea of using monetary policy as a trade policy and going back to having a national industrial trade policy. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I share those thoughts with you. I mean, we are the only country trying to compete in a world, and every other country we deal with actually has a strategy. And
Right.
Some of them, like China, do things that are illegal, and we'll go after them for that, and we need to do it more. But shame on us. We have no strategy, and it shows. That leads to bad trade policy. That leads to monetary policy driving our economy and the decisions that are being made in it, not looking at employment, not looking at our industrial base, not looking at our capacities and capabilities to compete in the future.
Yeah. Yesterday, Louise and I were having lunch at a locally owned nearby restaurant, and the owner came over and we were chatting, and he doesn't know what I do for a living, and all he knows me as as a regular customer, and we just said, how's business, and how's and we were talking about that, and he said, well, at least we're able to start exporting again as the dollar's getting weaker, and I said, yeah, but it's impoverishing America, the dollar getting weaker, seems like a lousy way to have a trade policy that works. I mean, but so many Americans think that that's the way to do it. I'm astounded.
Well, I think there's a couple things. I think, one, there's a monetary policy in the world, a currency policy that really needs to be addressed. China manipulates theirs. A number of other nations emulate the behavior that creates an unfair trade advantage. At times, we've had such a strong dollar policy, it's also made it difficult. I think there's a balancing act that needs to occur there.
Yeah, but beyond that, I think we should go back to Hamilton's idea of appropriate tariffs for critical industries and nurturing young industries and government supportive industries, things like that.
Absolutely. And I think one of the big decision points here that we're reaching with the new energy policy is how do we make sure those investments are made in our domestic economy. The recovery package that's being considered in Congress, we are fighting very strongly to make sure that Buy American provisions, Buy American laws actually apply to the manufactured goods. I mean, I've said in front of Congress to representatives, do you want to explain to your constituents how our money got used to buy Chinese windmills? It makes no sense. We want to invest in our economy, invest in our people, and capture that innovation and create good jobs here.
And virtually all of the major industrialized countries in the world have some dimension of this. Some of them have drank too much of the free trade Kool-Aid, England being probably the biggest basket case in point, and they're going down in flames just like we are as a consequence of it. The Maggie Thatcher, but started that process. But bottom line, China certainly does, Japan does, South Korea does.
They all have strategies.
Yeah, they all have, and part of their strategy is to say that the domestic content laws, if you're going to sell something in our country, it has to have a certain percentage of the stuff actually made in our country, but at least in sectors or industrial sectors that we think are critical. So AFL-CIO is pushing for a Buy American provision in this economic recovery package.
Absolutely. We think it should cover all manufactured goods, not just iron and steel, which is one amendment that was proposed in the House, but it needs to be broader. It needs to be inclusive. It only makes sense if we are trying And it's an economic recovery package that we make sure we make those investments in our domestic economy so that, in fact, we do recover. I think going beyond that, more importantly, is that we really do want to capture the technology and innovation of the future and be making those things here. Companies and the people have lost sight that when you offshore those jobs, you offshore not just the frontline and skilled workers, but it's the research, design, and engineering. And that means that next choice, that next investment, that next best idea is being made in someone else's economy, not this one. And we've got to turn that around.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And how are you going to deal with the Republicans who yell and scream and say, "Oh, wait a minute, we want IBM to continue offshoring jobs"?
I would dare them to stand up and say that, frankly. I mean, this is a fight that's ready to be picked in our economic situation.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I would hope that Senator Reid will give them an opportunity to try to filibuster, and then we can all see what their real agenda is.
Well, Tom, I tell you, the list you read at the beginning of the show, GE was in there. GE and all these guys just sent out a letter to try and stop this movement to put Buy American in the laws, and I hope your listeners call up their congressperson and let them know this is important. We want our money spent here.
Yep.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program.